This is a 67 Ford Mustang. This is a Gt500 clone car. The turn signal switch was giving problems. So I'm going to do a little how-to video on how to replace your turn signal switch the easy, stress-free way. It's a lot easier than you think. So right off the bat, you've got to pull your steering wheel off. You've got one nut. Take your nut off. And in this case, I just applied a little pressure on both sides and wiggled at the same time, and my steering wheel popped off. But if yours won't pop right off, they make a puller that'll bolt up in these two bolt holes, and it'll apply pressure to the steering shaft and pop your steering wheel off. So once you get your steering wheel off, it's going to look something like this right here. You're going to have 3 Phillips head screws. One here, and one down here. You'll have to turn this a little bit to get to the bottom one, like that. So once you get those 3 screws out, you'll also, before you take those screws out, go ahead and just slide your spring out of the way and just lay it to the side. But once you get your 3 screws out, go in under your dash and find where your turn signal switch plugs up. And it's going to look something like this. You're either going to have the square one, which was, see, the square is 67, and the 68's got like a little rounded style, or vice versa, one or the other. So just go ahead and, since your turn signal switch is no good, just go ahead and just cut your harness. Once you cut your harness, and you've got your 3 screws out, go ahead and screw your turn signal switch lever. Just go ahead and turn it counterclockwise until it comes completely off. If it's tight, you can put a small wrench on it right here. I'm not sure, I think it's a 1/4 inch wrench, but it's got a little place right here. Put your wrench on there, loosen it up, and then just, it's got Loctite on it from the factory. Camera don't zoom in. Get this out of the way. Take your flathead screwdriver, flat blade screwdriver, gently force it up this way, and pull your turn signal switch right straight out. It'll just come right straight out the hole. It'll come out of this hole right here, your wiring wheel. Then what you're going to want to do is, there's a Phillips head screw right here, and one down here. Take these all the way loose. When you take them all the way loose, it's going to drop this right here down, this cover. You're going to want to gently slide this down so not to scratch your paint on your steering column. This was red at one time. So once you get all that done, what you're going to do now is take your new turn signal switch. Make sure your colors are the same. I went ahead and checked all my colors, and they're all exactly the same as my old one. What I like to do is I put a little bit of black tape on the ends of my wires, because I don't want them snagging on the column. So you're gonna, that slot right there, go ahead and force it into that slot. Or not force it, just put it in that slot. Yeah. Then you're gonna thread it into this little slot. That slot right there. That's the whole point in removing this. Just work it down to the bottom. What you're doing is you're working it down to the bottom of your column. You may have to back it up and just keep working with it. But you'll eventually see it come out of the bottom down here. I'm getting hung up somewhere. Like I say, you may have to back it up. So it's starting to come out the bottom now. You can see right here, it's starting to come out, so just grab it. And it's going to pull it. Alright, now that we got our wires fished down through our hole, now it's time to put this right here, this cover, back in place. Gently pull it back up without scratching anything. And we're going to line it up with our screw. And then we can put our screws back in. The screw's going to be there, and then that one right there. I'll get those tightened up and we'll be right back. Okay, now that I got my 2 screws tightened back up, my cover's back on, it's now time to slip our hazard light cover back on. Where did it go? Here it is. Got your little cover right here. It's for your emergency flashers. So we're going to slip it on, and then we're going to gently put this back in place. We're going to try to. One-handed here. Gotten to this point, you want to make sure that this is in the little hole right there, which is not, because it's still got to be, bolts got to be put back in it. Once you get back to this point, put your 3 bolts back in it. 1, 2, 3. You'll put your spring back on. You will put your turn signal lever back on. I'll get the steering wheel back on, and then we'll wire up the bottom. Alright guys, now that we got all that back together, we got to put our connector back on the bottom. So we got to get this black tape off. This old flash can ain't no good. I got to replace it. That's another thing to check. If your blinkers aren't working, replace your flash cans first. Don't just assume it's the switch. Because 99% of the time it is the flash can. But I knew my switch was bad. Okay, so we got our plug in, and your new switch comes with your pins already on it. Let's see if I can zoom y'all in just a tad, a little bit. Let's see if we can't zoom in. So here's our pins, and we need to put our new pins in our old connector. So what you're gonna do is take you a really small flat blade screwdriver on one of these tools. Pick these tools up on Mac Tools or off Amazon. They work pretty good for about anything. What you're gonna do is there's a little tab in here. You're gonna push the tab on that pin, and it's gonna release it. So let's see. Let's release it. Let's release a pin. Let's see. I thought I released it. Okay, so I just released that old wire, and we're going to check that wire. That wire is a big blue wire with a yellow stripe. Now we come over here, we find our blue wire with our yellow stripe. And we are going to put it in place of that old one. Alright, there's one. You're just going to keep doing that all the way until you get all, I think it's either 10 or 11 wires. We'll just keep working our way around. Okay, this one is green with a white stripe. So we're going to come over here. Let's find green with a white stripe. It's right here. It's just as simple as that, guys. I see a lot of times people are they'll cut this end off, and they'll cut these, and then they will just use like butt connectors or some kind of connector and connect these, or just wire them together and put black tape on them. That's not the correct way to do it. So if you do it this way, it's the correct way. This wire is see, this wire is, can't hardly tell what color this wire is. It almost looks like a brown wire. Since I'm not seeing brown wire on this harness, we're going to skip this wire. We'll go to the next wire, which is an orange wire with a blue stripe. And we know we have an orange wire with a blue stripe, so we're going to do it. Next. Orange wire, blue stripe. Let's see. Orange wire, blue stripe. Once we get to the very end, the wire that's left over in our harness will be the one that goes right here. Solid blue, no stripe. Now here's what I'm talking about, guys. This wire right here looks tan. With a, looks like it's tan, and it might have a stripe on it. I don't know. It looks tan. So chances are this was probably a white stripe back in the day. And the only other one we got left is a white stripe with a blue, it's a white wire with a blue stripe. So chances are that's the one that goes in that hole. We know all of our other ones are right, so that has to be where it goes. Just use us a little common sense. Oh, that one's gonna be a booger. Alright. Last wire, guys. That's all there is to it. We just put our new switch in. Got our old plug-in connector on our new harness. This thing's ready to plug up and test. I'm pretty sure that flash can's no good. I need to get a flash can first before we can do a real test. That's it, guys. Alright, guys, I just replaced this flash can. If you listen, you can hear it. Sounds like it's got something inside it loose. That means it's no good. So I just put this new flash can on it. And the reason why I took this out is because this right here was broke on this right here. And I replaced this, but it was loose and I never was happy with it. So it worked, but then the flash can quit working. So I just decided to replace the switch, the flash can, just eliminate all the problems. So let's see if it works. Oh. Okay. Left turn. Let's see if it's blinking out. Door caught me. Oh yeah, it's blinking. I call that a win, guys. It is a working. That's all there is to it. 1967. Actually, this right here applies for 64 through, well, about all of them. I'm gonna say 64 through 73. That same technique applies for all of these cars. Mustangs, Ford Mustangs. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and see you on the next video, guys.